What's going on, everybody? It's Chris Reynolds, and we're here with Wisdom Wednesday, and I'm just excited just to have a moment with you guys. In fact, this last Sunday at church, we talked about Paul, and we were in the book of Acts, and there was something that just kind of stuck out to me. If you know anything about Paul, you know that he was Saul, and Saul was out there persecuting, killing the church. And then he had this moment where Jesus comes to him, blinds him, and he begins to call upon the name of the one he was persecuting. And at that moment, God changed his life. And I just started thinking, man, like, God watched this man do everything he could to destroy, even he murdered, scattered the church, persecuted the church, tried to stop the movement of God. But it wasn't until God stopped him through a movement within him of that moment did everything change from him. He went from Saul to Paul. And many of you know this story, but it just really began to kind of just ring true. Most of what we see in the New Testament was written by this man, the man that used to hate, that used to kill, that became famous as the one that persecuted the movement of Jesus. And that same man, after he encountered God, had to go in humility back to these towns that he once persecuted, and he began to spread the gospel. And what does that mean to us? Well, there's so many of us that think, man, I don't know how God could use me. I don't know what I could do to be a part of God's plan. And see, that's the wrong question. The question is when you encounter God, what are you doing with it? It doesn't matter who you were. It matters who you're going to be. And that's what God cares about. Does he care about who you were? For sure. But can he use you? Yes. Think of the testimony that a man who once murdered is now bringing people to the Lord, what that looks like. Everybody had to know, man, Jesus, if he could change this guy, man, this movement is bigger than what we're seeing. This movement is greater than what we've ever known. And some of us, when we look back at our story, we go, man, God, could you use me? But maybe, just maybe, you who may have that story even brings a light brighter for Jesus because of who you were, when people see now who you are. And so we were challenged at church to tell our story. I'm going to challenge you too, because Paul had a moment where it was before Jesus. He had a moment when he encountered him, and then he had a lifetime after that. And he'd eventually would be able to give his life for the Lord. And man, it's just such a challenging story. And honestly, it's heart-wrenching, but it also brings hope to people like you and I, because God can use anybody. And I think he could use you too. You just have to have that encounter and let him do the rest. Man, I hope this just speaks to your heart. Hopefully you tell your story this week of when you encountered Jesus. And please reach out to the All Pro team. We're here to work with you, to work on you, to be a part of your journey, be a part of your story, beyond just a transaction of real estate. It's to help bring our community just to a greater place. And one of those things, as a core value of us, is serving God. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next time.